time. In other words, 52 were received on time, 1 came after the cutoff time. The objections were directed at candidates representing the following 10 parties: the African Christian Democratic Party, or the ACDP, the African Content Movement, the ACM, the African Independent Congress, AIC, Alliance for Transformation for All, ATA, African National Congress, ANC, Black First, Land First, BLF, Democratic Alliance, DA, Economic Freedom Fighters, EFF, Pan-Africanist Congress of Azania, PAC, and Land Party. A number of objections were also directed at more than one party. In other words, one objector objecting to more than one party. 29 objections were directed against candidates representing the ANC, 19 against candidates representing the BLF, 13 against candidates representing the EFF, 4 each against candidates representing the DA and the Land Party, and 1 each against candidates representing the ACDP, the AIC, the ACM, and the ATA. Despite many of the objections not meeting the prescribed format for submissions, the Commission decided, in the interest of promoting fair elections, to consider whether substantively these allegations met the criteria in the Constitution and in Section 30, subsection 1 of the Electoral Act. Section 30 provides for 3 grounds to object to a candidate, and these grounds are: 1, the candidate is not qualified to stand for elections. Let me repeat that. The candidate is not qualified to stand for elections. The second one, there is no prescribed acceptance of nomination signed by that candidate. The third one, there is no prescribed undertaking signed by the candidate that they are bound by the Code of Conduct. In terms of Sections 47 and 106 of the Constitution, every citizen who is qualified to vote for the National Assembly and or provincial legislature is eligible to stand, except if 1, they are unrehabilitated insolvents; 2, anyone declared to be of unsound mind by a court of the Republic; and 3, anyone who is convicted of an offense and sentenced to more than 12 months imprisonment without the option of a fine, either in South Africa or outside of the country, if the offense would have been an offense if committed in South Africa. This disqualification ends 5 years after the sentence has been completed. In line with the process requirements, the Electoral Commission last week advised each party in writing of the objections received relating to candidates of that party, and allowed the implicated parties an opportunity to make representations if they elected to do so. All the parties denied the allegations in the objections, with the ANC, the BLF, the DA, and the EFF submitting written representations to the Commission. After deliberating, the Commission resolved to uphold 1 objection by the PAC against its own candidate, Mr. Sarupane Alton Senyane Mpeti. This candidate was sentenced on 7 June 2016 to 18 months imprisonment without the option of a fine. This disqualifies him from holding elected office to the National Assembly or provincial legislature. The Commission dismissed all other objections for failing to meet the constitutional and statutory criteria. The majority of these objections related to unproven allegations. The chairperson of the Electoral Commission clearly, when considering this, said that the Commission could only act within the prescription of the law and the Constitution. And of course, that's really what the Commission has done. We have written to objectors and the political parties concerned to advise them of the outcome of this process. Any objector, party, or candidate aggrieved by the decision of the Commission has until 11 April 2019 to appeal this decision of the Commission to the Electoral Court. we want to end this briefing right there, unless there are questions of clarity, as indicated by the chairperson.
Let me just double check questions of clarity. I've got two hands. No, isn't that?
Good morning, Michael from ENCA. I hope I'm not overstepping the bounds here of a question on clarity. The objections themselves, is that going to be made public at some stage then? The 52 objections, in detail what those objections are? And secondly, bearing in mind the state the country finds itself in, with new allegations being made every single day against some very senior politicians, the State Capture Commission being one of them, if you look at the criteria, some may argue it is quite narrow. Is it not perhaps an option to widen the criteria by which we judge potential candidates? Thank you.
Greg Nicholson from the Daily Maverick. Are you able to just please outline the appeal process and how that works a little bit for us, if someone wants to appeal the rejection of their objection?
Lisa Gatano, News 24. The ANC is currently going through a vetting process through its Integrity Commission. And what they've been saying was that after this process, its candidates, they will ask its candidates to step down from its nomination list. Now, I want to find out if this is plausible according to the Act. Can the ANC ask its candidates to step down? And would they be allowed? Because the cut-off date was on the 28th of March, if I'm not correct.
Shall we just...
Yes, please stay with it.
I'll be assisted if necessary, if I missed anything. The objections, Michael, we have clearly indicated that these are matters that may still be reviewed or appealed against, and so there is not a requirement in law to make them public, or are we going to make them public at this point? Is the criteria too narrow? The law is prescriptive. The electoral laws are prescriptive in their nature, and the Commission has followed the letter of the law, and that's really what the Commission has done. Gail has raised the issue of process. The Section 30 provides, Gail, that you know, it's in terms of the election timetable, parties submit lists of candidates with requirements, and those requirements are that, you know, there must be an acceptance of nomination, parties must pay their deposits, and that parties must warrant that the candidates they filled are candidates that comply with the requirements of the Constitution, Sections 47 and 106. Once we have received those nominations, we have published them. They were published in the Gazette. They were on our website. I think they remain on our website for persons who want to object to do so. We did issue a media release last week indicating that the process of objections is open. We have then received these objections. We have an internal process in the Commission. We look at each one of them. We look, you know, the criteria are simply matching those against what the law requires of us to do. And that's the outcome of the process that we are briefing you about today. Lizelle, you are raising the issue of an ANC process. We wouldn't be in the position to comment about the ANC process. I think it's best we leave it to them. But from the Electoral Commission's point of view, the candidates we now have, unless reviewed by a court, are the candidates we have going into this election.
Thank you so much. Let me take the last round before we wrap up. Yes, ma'am.
Amanda from the Citizen. So your own values on your website state accountability, transparency and integrity. In terms of transparency, I'm sure you wouldn't agree that an informed voter is the voter that you're looking for, someone who knows what's going on. So I think hiding behind this thing of there could possibly still be a review of the list. All of these guys have been cleared, so what is the problem with not just telling us? It's not going to affect the merits of the case if you tell us what the complaints were against him. That surely can't be a thing. I don't understand that at all. And then in terms of integrity, we need to know how it is that a person who has serious allegations against him, who has findings against him by the public protector, can still make it to the list. And that's just one thing. But someone who's got serious allegations surely doesn't have integrity. If the allegations are disproved against him, then they can stand again next time.
Just to add to what Amanda is asking, can you just clarify what kind of objections were laid against the said candidates?
Okay. Thanks, Lizeka. Yes, ma'am.
I just want to know, in the absence of the objections that were sent to the IEC, how long would it have taken for you to be able to pick it up? For example, I'm actually talking about the one individual whose objection you upheld. Let's say, for example, someone who didn't actually make any objection, would you have been able to pick it up? How long would it have taken in terms of your own internal vetting process, outside of people who actually make those objections?
Okay. Can we take the...
Okay, Michael will come back to you. Deb, can I pause you a little bit? Let me just
if I miss
deal
something,
with the,
please
then
help.
I'll come back to you and Michael.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Indit.
I think in respect of the question by Amanda, the transparency and integrity, this is precisely the point we make in the release. We have a set of rules that are prescribed in law. We have no discretion. We could say this one and not the other one. And we apply the letter of the law. We do not enact it. Parliament does. And so we use that law. There is no requirement on integrity as you place it here. There is no requirement on transparency. We understand how some of those objections have arisen. But in law, the requirements were clear before the Electoral Commission. The Electoral Commission has dealt with those. I think that's really what the process entails in our case. On the kind of objections we have received, many of those objections were objections that said there are these allegations about a person. I did read when we started this and indicated what the law really says. It says that there must be a conviction and somebody must have been sentenced to imprisonment for a period without an option of a fine. That we do. We look at and we deal with those issues. I missed the last question.
About internal processes.
How long would it take to pick it up?
Okay.
No, nothing.
We've always maintained, and the law, if you would look at the law is clear. Parties ought to warrant their own candidates in an election. They need to say these are people that comply with the letter of the law. We will upload those candidates and we will open that process to anyone, including the Chief Electoral Officer, who can then object against the candidate. That's really what the law provides for us. When you raise an objection, or when anyone raises an objection, of course we have dealt with those objections within the period provided to us in law. We had over 10,000 candidates for the National Assembly, and I don't have the figure offhand for me. So there's quite a number of these that we have to deal with. but the onus, it's on the party submitting the list of candidates to warrant that their own candidates comply with the requirements that are placed in the law.
Michael and Debu, you had your hands up, unless if you're covered. Okay.
I'd just like to ask about an update on the complaints laid against individual parties, be it the EFF or the DA, especially in relation to Karima Brown's issue with the EFF, the Lil against the DA. Is there any sort of time frame or where those cases are?
Not that I'm expecting you to meddle into ANC politics. I know it's the internal processes, but what I'm interested in is that we know that the list is final. The list before the IEC is final. And the ANC is saying, out of consciousness of their members, they would want those who maybe are accused of something to step aside. Will the law, according to the IEC, will the law allow, after elections, the ANC to change all those candidates? Is that possible beyond elections for them to change?
Yes.
Okay, so it's Natasha here from the SABC. I know that on Saturday, the former Northwest Premier, Super Mahmoud Goli, had actually written to the IEC asking to disclose the names of those who are actually objecting against his deployment to Parliament. Have you responded to him? Have you disclosed the names? Will the names be made public? Because, I mean, this actually happened in a public space. So.
Thank you. All right, let's cover let's respond to the 3 questions.
Michael, you're naughty. The complaints that we receive follow a process of investigation. You've got to give parties the opportunity to make representations, what is commonly known as Audi. And there's, in some of these matters, complications arise, and we have to look at them, to the point where we are confident what we have dealt with fairly. The cases you asked, the investigation part has been finalized. The commission will soon meet to look at the decision that the commission would come to, and I'm sure we will.
It will be before the elections, right?
Oh, of course it will be. Michael, we work at these things really hard, and we appreciate that they will be dealt with, in the best interest of an election. So we will inform you once we have dealt with these matters. Then we raised the question about whether people, the law provides. A candidate can say, I'm no longer available, and parties have seen that happen in the past, and the next candidate is put forward. But I don't want to speculate about what parties and candidates are going to do. From our point of view, I think it is best to say to you that unless a court removes a candidate because of the process that the chairperson has indicated, the candidates that we now have on the list of candidates are final. I think that's really the position that we have from the commission. Natasha raises the question of a person that may have said things in the media or raised things with us. Certainly, we deal with political parties that submit lists of candidates. We have indicated that in the matters that were before us, we wrote to political parties and gave them the opportunity to make representations. Some of the issues that are in the public have not necessarily come to us. Some of them we hear from you or we see in the public space, but certainly we deal with political parties. And I can assure you that the issues relating to the objections that we have received, we have written to political parties and informed them of the decisions, as we ought to do in law. I think
that does it. I don't think if there are any other questions of clarity. Yeah. Thank you very much for covering this briefing. We then proceed to the Electoral Code of Conduct for Gauteng political parties. Thanks a lot. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Commissioners.
Sorry, Mark.
Amanda, I know you would want us to open, but we will be in trouble. Commissioner Mietna. Yes, we do. Why?
I think two options.